a licensed real estate agent here in Wichita Falls, Texas with Strategic Realty. And sitting next to me here is Lou Italis, the owner-broker of Strategic Realty. How's it going?
It's going. Almost Thanksgiving.
Almost
Good
Thanksgiving.
Gosh, this month has just flown by.
We just about burned up another year.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. Feels like we just started talking about 2021. And here we are already looking at 2022, which in some respects I hope improves over 2021. I mean, 2021 was better than 2020.
I'm not making any assumptions.
I'm not either. 2021 was better than 2020.
Yeah.
No question, no arguments, no two ways about it. You can't even compare them. But some things have got to improve in the next year.
Something's got to give.
Something's got to give. We talk about a lot of things on this program that relate to real estate. Everything from construction to purchases to sales. I mean, you name it, everything and all the components in between. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we haven't really gotten into heavily is fraud. And
real estate fraud.
Real estate fraud is a real thing. And unfortunately, it does happen to people. It happens more often than you might think. And there's also a whole lot of people out here trying to sell you something to prevent that fraud or intercept that fraud.
What happens is
products out there.
Yeah, exactly. What happens is when you first purchase a property, your mm-hmm. name goes into this bank mm-hmm. of data. And all of a sudden, when you first purchase that property, you start getting mail because now you're a homeowner. So all of that mail is going to offer you something more that you can purchase. If you didn't hear about it from a real estate agent at closing, it ain't true. It ain't worth it. It ain't, it's not something that you need. You'll get something in the mail for, we'll file your homestead exemption for you for $100, or I don't know exactly how much it is, but they'll provide you with a copy of your title if you pay $150, or there's so many things, so many scams that you're going to get in the mail when you first close on your house.
And here's the thing: a lot of the things that these companies are doing may be perfectly legal to do.
But it's not necessary. Right.
It's they're just getting you to spend extra money
mm-hmm.
doing things like let's take the homestead exemption, for example.
You do that for free.
It costs you $0 to file for a homestead exemption. You go down to the county, or you probably now can get it online, I'm sure. You get a form, you fill it out, you send it in, or you go hand deliver it to the county clerk's
office,
and they file it, and that's
it's done. And all you need to do is you need to change your driver's license to have your current address on it. Right. So you just need to go down to the DMV. Right. Is that what it's still called?
Well, in this case, you go to Texas DPS, and by the way, you'll have to make an appointment. You can't because they're still in fear of whatever. You can't just walk into the DPS office. You actually have to.
Should not be named.
That demon which shall not be named here. You have to make an appointment to go into the DPS office to do that.
I think you can also do it online. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I know
you're
supposed to be able to, but I do know some people who recently have had some issues with that, and I think that has to do with glitches in the system. Maybe some changes to the DPS website on their side. I don't know. But I do know they've had some difficulties with it, and they've had to go ahead and just schedule an appointment. And you may not be able to go to the DPS office in your city. You may have to go one or two cities over. I know someone who did it, who lives in Wichita Falls, and they ended up having to go to the DPS office in Decatur.
Oh,
because they couldn't get an appointment here.
That's all you need to do in order to get your homestead exemption is you need to get your driver's license with your address on it. And I think that you might have to provide an electric bill or something in your name.
Electric bill, water bill, some utility
bill, some sort of proof of ownership, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that's all you have to do. And then it's free. And then you get that homestead exemption, which is a big deal because it will save you money in taxes at the end of the year.
I believe it's a $25,000 exemption on the school district portion of your taxes.
And then if you have other exemptions that you can add to it, whether you're disabled veteran or over 65.
Right.
I think those are the only two other exemptions.
There's the homestead, disability, over 65.
Oh, disability.
Veterans, and I think that's it. And I know there have been a number of proposals that have been put forth in the legislature in the last couple of sessions about different exemptions. and I don't think any of those have gotten
hit.
legs under
Okay.
them yet. But
Well,
they're
those
working
the
on
main
it,
one
yeah.
is your homestead exemption, and that's going to
Yeah.
be something that you really want to do because it's going to save you money at the end of the year, and it's
Right.
going to it's going to make it's going to keep your because see what happens is that whenever you get a home, let's say for instance you get it in October or November, or even if you get it in February, January, anytime you get it, your mortgage is based on these prepaid or these pre-assumed items. So for instance, if they're assuming that your tax appraisal is going to stay at the cost it was when you purchased it, then your taxes are going to be the same every year. But that doesn't happen. That changes. So in January, or what is it when the new tax bill comes out in May or something of the next year?
Well, you'll get it in like October. It's due December 31st.
No, well, that's the bill that the assessment, the property tax assessment usually comes around May timeframe. The new one for the new year.
The assessment, yes, yeah.
So the
that's
assessment when it comes out in May,
June.
it may completely change. It may be 20% higher,
right.
and so that's going to change your tax liability at the end of the year, and it's going to change your escrows because when the bank pays that bill, they're going to reassess that account,
Right.
and then they're going to increase your mortgage payment
Right.
based on whatever it is that they've had to pay out. So you really want to get that homestead exemption. You really want to get that over 65 exemption. You really want to get that VA exemption if you're in in that category because it will make a difference to your mortgage payment the next year.
And
Because
that
that's
home-
the struggle is that people start buying a house, they come into it, maybe on the top end of their budget, and then all of a sudden the next year the mortgage payment almost triples sometimes because of the tax liability or the insurance liability, the change to the escrow account.
Yeah.
So you don't want to put yourself in that situation. You want to make sure that your taxes are as low as they can go.
Well, and real quick, that homestead exemption is available to anyone. It doesn't matter whether you're 25 years old, 65 years old, 95
As long as that
years
is
old,
your
doesn't
as
matter.
long as that's your primary residence,
Right.
you're entitled to that homestead exemption.
Right. But back on the fraud thing. So you're going to get these things in the mail soliciting your money, your business.
An additional home warranty or
Yeah.
fraud insurance or what is it called? Title fraud insurance.
Title fraud insurance.
Ugh.
Now there's a difference between you get
title insurance at closing
Right.
from the title company.
Right.
So that is already going to cover you for any issues with the
Correct.
title prior to purchasing it. So, for instance, if there was an error or something that comes up in the woodwork later on and they didn't catch it, they have to fix that problem. They have to, if there's any liens that come up on the property that they didn't catch, then they're responsible for that because that's
Right.
what the purpose is for that title insurance.
Right.
And that is something that is paid for usually by the seller for you at closing, but it can be negotiable. It's a negotiable item. So when you hear something that says title insurance fraud, isn't it, or title lock insurance?
Title lock insurance, yeah.
Don't fall for it. It's a scam. It's something. It's somebody came up with this a while ago. Who was it that came up with it? I think somebody said that Mike Levine was trying to sell it.
Well, I think Mark Levin
Mark Levin.
he may promote a company that sells this, but he didn't come up with it. But I think it's something that's been around for a long time. And again, it's one of those things where it's not necessarily an illegal thing, but it's not something you have to have either.
It may not be illegal, but it doesn't do what it sounds like it's going to do.
Yeah,
It's not going to keep you so there's been a fear within this industry
yeah.
that somebody can come and just take your home. That there has been some scams in the past of people that are taking homes and doing a quick claim deed or something like that,
Right.
and then now all of a sudden you go and sell your property, but meanwhile somebody else has the deed for your property. Well, that can't happen in a vacuum. I mean, it happens. It does happen. I mean, there have been instances of
Yeah,
people.
I've heard stories of people like, for example, someone's got a house, it's bought and paid for. They've got a clear title.
Usually
to
it happens only when there's is a completely free and clear house. If you
Right.
have a mortgage, then you really don't have to worry about this. You definitely don't have to worry about this
Someone is
because the title company, your lender is going to be aware of anything.
Right. But you've got this title to this property that's free and clear. Someone goes and does a quick claim deed on you. You don't realize they've done it. They then go and take out some sort of a
Mortgage,
lien, a
yeah.
mortgage on the property. Suddenly one day you get a letter in the mail saying
going through
that
foreclosure.
you're going through foreclosure, and you're like, I paid this house off 30 years ago. What do you mean foreclosure? And you suddenly discover that someone has committed fraud on your title, on your property, and that's when you find it. So things like that can happen. They do happen, and probably more often than we realize that they happen. Unfortunately, even with real estate, there's all sorts of people out here that are looking for some way to commit fraud against somebody all the
Somebody
time.
always wants something for nothing.
You know, we hear about identity theft an awful lot. I mean, that comes up frequently. We'll talk about identity theft. This goes something beyond identity theft. When someone is taking out a lien on your property and putting you in a bind that way, or outright just stealing the deed from you, that's a whole different level of identity theft. That goes beyond identity theft. That goes right into a level of larceny or something that's just out of this world.
It's higher. Okay, so for instance, if you go to titlelock.com, there's a website about it. It says protects 24/7 total peace of mind for $14.99 a month.
Okay, so $14.99 a month to ensure that no one has stolen your title.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, I think.
How does the title lock work? A home title lock is a service offered by many companies, often as a monthly or annual subscription with a monitoring service. Basically, it's a monitoring service, and you'll receive alerts whenever court filings are made that impact your home.
So think something like credit monitoring services. Lots of people use credit monitoring services to constantly watch and what they're doing is they're looking at your credit reports on a regular basis. Maybe it's daily, maybe it's weekly, maybe it's monthly, whatever. They're looking at your credit reports to see if anything fraudulent appears in there, if there's any patterns of behavior, purchases that you wouldn't normally make, things that you wouldn't normally see in your credit file. That's what they're looking for. But this is a little different story. My speculation here, Lou, and you tell me if I'm right or if I'm wrong, the average person probably, again, if you've got a lien on, like something like 87% of all the home purchases in this country last year were mortgages, some type of either, government-backed loan, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, VA, something like that, or conventional bank loans or whatever. 87% of all the homes purchased in the country were purchased with some type of loan. And so there's a lien on the property. And so the lender who has the lien on that property, they've got a vested interest in that. It's not going to be easy. In fact, it may be downright impossible for someone to do anything fraudulent with that deed because there's already a lien on it. If anything that they try to do, that lien is flagged immediately, yes?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so basically what they're saying is that somebody can file a lien or they can transfer the deed with a quitclaim deed or something to your home. Yeah. The title lock insurance will alert you of the issue or alert you when somebody files that at the courthouse, but they can't stop it from happening, and they can't protect you after it happens.
Right. So once something like that happens,
you still have to go. I mean, you will find out about this eventually whenever you go to sell the property. And if something like that has happened, the burden of proof is on them. That document will have to get verified.
Well, it would seem
and
to me,
if it's a fraudulent document, then it just goes away.
One way or another, you're getting now into a legal process where you're going
to have to contact an attorney.
You got to contact an attorney. This is one area where your real estate agent is not going to be able to help you. Mm-hmm. Mainly because we're not attorneys and we're not allowed to practice law. And so you have to then, at that point, if you discover that some sort of fraud has occurred, then at that point, you're going to have to get an attorney involved in the process. There's going to be a legal process you're going to have to go through to free that up and demonstrate that, hey, I didn't put this lien on this property. This is fraudulent. Someone is committing a fraud against me.
Okay, well, here's the steps in that process. So, if they got a mortgage with that document and and a lender gave them money, they've also purchased a lender's title policy, which is what we had talked about originally that protects you from that the title company gives you whenever you close on a property.
Right.
Well, if that deed or if that loan was fraudulent, that title company that issued that title policy is responsible to clear to pay. You're not liable for that loan because that title company was part of the fraud.
Right.
So the title company is the one that has to deal with that new lender. That document that was forged is now going to save you from having to pay anything on that loan. So the title lock insurance is not necessary, is what we're basically
Right.
coming down to here. I mean, those kinds of frauds can happen, but if it does happen, there are recourses that you can take without having to have that additional insurance, that
Right.
fraud title lock or whatever, because they're not going to be able to help you fix that problem. The only people that can help you fix that problem is the title company that did the title insurance.
So it sounds like the title lock.
It's just a monitoring
It's
service.
a monitoring service, and it's a very reactionary thing because they're only going to alert you after the fraud is happened.
after it's already occurred.
So once
They
it's
can't
occurred,
keep it from happening.
so basically all they're doing is going, "Hey, danger, Will Robinson, you got a problem over here with your title to your property." And then from there, then you get into the whole legal process of, okay, now I got
Which
to get this
you would
removed.
already get that alert anyway
Mhm.
when you went to go and sell that property.
Right.
So because the title company is going to do a title search, and if they find a lien on there that's not yours, obviously you're going to find out about it.
Now, where I can see this could get a little complicated is, for example, mom and dad have passed away, and the children are, let's say mom and dad have a will,
Yeah.
which unfortunately so many people don't, and that's bad. It's so bad. Get a will. Talk to
Yeah.
a lawyer. Get a will.
You can even do one yourself. I mean, all you need is a piece of paper that says what your intentions are when you pass.
I've been down this road myself.
Yeah.
Trust me, you need a will. But let's say mom and dad pass away. They've got a will. They've left the house to the children. And there's two children, and they're going to split this thing equally. The children get all the necessary documentation together.
They go to sell it.
They get ready to transfer the deed over to the kids and go, oh, gee, there's a lien on this property. And the kids are like, well, no, mom and dad paid their mortgage off in 1974 or whatever, Well, there's no lien on this property. Well, yeah, there is. So now you've got the original owners of the property against whom the fraud was committed. They're no longer here to fight this battle.
Well,
Now
the
the
heirs
have
would
gotta
have
fight
to
it.
do it. Yeah, and at that point, you still have the ability to fight it. You
You
don't
do.
really have to have that
You
title
do.
fraud insurance or
You-
title
no,
lock insurance.
You don't. It
Because
just
it doesn't lock your title. It doesn't keep them from actually doing anything.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that the name implies title lock, basically, like you're locking that title up. Well, the title lock
Yeah.
doesn't do what it sounds like it's doing. It just is going to be an alert. It's not going to lock your title to keep them from doing all that.
what
kind of
some
stuff.
folks will do is what's called a ladybird deed.
We talked about like on the first episode
we
that
did.
we ever did.
We did. Which basically a ladybird deed. It gets its name from Lady Bird Johnson, the former first lady
Yeah.
of the United States. But the ladybird deed basically is a document which, let's say your dad owns a piece of property, mom's passed away, dad's got it, dad has this ladybird deed in place. Quite literally, when dad draws his last breath on this earth,
It automatically
it
transfers.
automatically transfers to whomever he has assigned it to. It's an immediate thing. When they pass, as soon as they pass away, that ladybird deed becomes effective, and now that property is in the name of this other person. Maybe it's one of the children, maybe it's a grandchild.
But what
whoever.
happens if before they passed away, somebody committed this fraud?
Right now, and this would be my question. If you have that document, let's say you have a ladybird deed instrument in place before you're still living, and this fraud pops up, it would. And again, this is where you got to get the lawyers involved. How does that affect your ladybird deed?
It doesn't, because that is proof that signature on there is going to be proof of any kind of forgery.
See,
so
that's
they
what I
could
would
take that title,
that's what I would think,
the fraudulent title, and compare it to the Ladybird deed. And if the signatures don't match, then.
And this is why it's so important, especially if you're, if you're elderly and you're looking at, okay, I'm going to be here another 5, 10, 15 years, and somewhere down the road, my children are going to inherit my home, or my grandchildren.
Right.
It would really be a
you
good
didn't
idea
do a
to,
reverse mortgage.
or do some research. Again, you go and you talk to an attorney, a qualified attorney,
Real estate attorney.
Particularly, and have them, just do a quick sweep of your property. Consult with them about all this stuff and find out. It would seem to me it would be worth the investment of a few $100s to sit down with someone in that field.
And you can
and
call
do all
us as
this.
real estate agents. We can point you in the right direction. I mean, we can be the first line of defense for you. So if you have a problem or if you have a question, call a real estate agent, and we know who to call or who to talk to, because you can go directly to the title company if you do have
That's right.
a concern or a question about the ownership of your property. Title companies can usually give you pretty good advice on that too.
Sure can.
And they have attorneys. They have real estate attorneys that do all their consultations and do their documents.
They do.
So, contacting a real estate agent or directly to a title company is usually a pretty good
The title
way
company
to
is
get those resources that you need.
they are a great resource. They really are. There's a tremendous resource, and I can't imagine what this process of buying and selling real estate would be like if you didn't have a title company involved. I know there was a time when they weren't, and many years ago.
When we were in North Carolina, we didn't have to go to a title company. I think that we went directly to a real estate attorney. Because that's usually what it used to be. It used to be real estate attorneys that dealt with a lot of that title transfers and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I don't know. I love title companies. It makes it so much
the
easier.
title companies, there's so much information that they can provide, and there's so many vital functions that they provide in their services. And there's, you take here in our local area, there's several title companies to choose from. They all operate within the same parameters from a legal aspect. But
One thing I can say is that you can shop around, because title companies, every title company, even though they all basically do perform the same services, sometimes their fees are different. I mean, usually it's a pretty standard fee across the board to all the different title companies. But like if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, shop around, because every title company has a different transaction fee.
not your fees for your title policy
the
or the
escrow- the-
insurance.
No,
example.
not that.
That's-
No, the
that's
title
set by
insurance
the-
is set by the state.
State
So
Board of Insurance. Yeah.
right. So that's going to be the same all across the board. It's always going to be $832 for the first 100,000, and then there's a calculation for everything above 100,000. It's like 0.00527, and that changes every once in a while. But that's what the number is right now. Is it 2 zeros or 3 zeros? I always forget.
I think it's
That's
3.
2.
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty
Is
sure.
Is
Yeah.
it 2?
0.00527. Yes.
Okay.
That so everything. So you would take the first 100,000 is $832. I think.
I think that's right.
I don't know if that's changed or not. But anyway, so that first 100,000 is 832, and then everything above that you would multiply it by 0.00527. Add those two together, and that's your title insurance fee.
Yeah. And there's actually, you can go online and just search
Title insurance,
here in Texas, Texas title insurance cost, for example. You can
And there'll be
search that.
calculators on there.
There'll be calculators, or it'll even take you directly to the website for the state where those fees are
And there's
set.
a table that you can look at. So it's pretty it's pretty interesting. And then I was talking about the title escrow fee. That can be different from one title company to another. Here in Wichita Falls, we are actually pretty lucky. We have a pretty low title escrow fee. Down in the Dallas area, I've seen it go all the way up to like $1,500 for the title policy. I mean, not title policy, for the title work.
Escrow fee.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get, larger cities typically are more expensive.
It shouldn't be, because, I mean, it's just a matter of doing a couple of clicks. You do web search.
I know.
And then you can find all that stuff. And then the underwriters, they have to review it. But, I mean, every company is a little bit different. I deal with Fannie Mae a lot, and they have their vendors, which is who they use for doing their title work, and they usually have like 2 or 3 title companies that they go with, and sometimes I'll see the differences in the different fees based on the location of the property and based on the title company. Some title companies charge $1,500 for the transaction, and some of them only charge $600, and I mean it's just really.
Hey, real quick here before we wrap up, any new updates on the foreclosure situation since the moratorium expired and some of the stuff is starting to move forward now?
We're moving forward. Everything's kind of go right now at this point. A lot of the banks and Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, HUD, VA, they're starting to ramp up. They're doing a lot of their due diligence, which is a lot of BPOs. A BPO is the acronym stands for broker price opinion. So most lenders or most REO companies will request a broker price opinion for a property that's going into foreclosure to get an estimate of what that value is of that property. And so I'll get probably about 5 or 10 requests for BPOs a day.
Really?
Yeah, so we're starting. It's coming.
Mm-hmm. It's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
They're doing their due diligence before they do the foreclosures. I know Fannie Mae is probably not going to do any foreclosures, like actual foreclosures, until the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But they're ramping up and doing all of their due diligence beforehand.
And we knew all of this was going to take time to get back in gear.
It's going to take a minute.
Everything's been shut down for 20 months or however long it's been now. And so
when you slow the monster, it takes the monster a little bit longer to kick back into gear.
It's you don't ramp it all right back up to 100% right away. It takes time, and as with anything involving any kind of government agency, there's always hurdles and hoops to jump through, and there's always delays. You just kind of expect it. It's just what's going to happen. So
basically, to wrap it up, title lock insurance is not necessary. It's not valid. It's just an additional fee, and you can save yourself that fee by just doing nothing at this point. If you have a concern, or if you do get a document, talk to a title company.
Yeah,
they'll be able to tell you right away if there's an issue.
Yeah, like we mentioned the credit monitoring,
because that's what's going to happen anyway. The title lock insurance is just going to give you a notification, and then you still got to contact an attorney or contact a title company and find out what's going on.
Once a month, I look at my credit reports, and my wife does too. We look at everything once a month and see, does everything look normal? Does everything look like it should? And I think if everybody would do that, how much could be saved, in terms of fraud, if everybody would do that. And I know it takes time, it takes effort, but even with the title of the deed to your property, just do some of your own homework on your own once in a while and investigate these things. And it takes, a few minutes out of your day or maybe a couple hours out of your day. But, if it can save you money, if it can save you stress and grief down the road, it's worth the investment in time.
And whenever you first purchase your property, you are, like I said at the beginning here, you are going to get some junk mail when you first purchase that property. If you ever have a question about that, reach out to the real estate agent that sold you the property.
Yes.
And they will be able to tell you what's legitimate and what's not.
That's right.
And 9 times out of 10, everything that you're getting right then at the beginning is all going to be just junk mail.
Well, if you've got a property,
don't fall for it.
If you're looking for a new home, we'd love to be your agent. If you're looking to sell a property, we would love to sell it for you. It's Strategic Realty, Wichita Falls, Texas, strategicrealty.net. The phone number is
940-689-7900.
Easy to reach out to us, and we look forward to hearing from you. We look forward to helping you. It doesn't cost anything to talk. We can sit down and have a conversation. That costs you nothing to do that. But if you're looking to buy or sell, we really would love to represent you in either capacity and help you out in any way we can. So until next time, be looking for us on YouTube, on Spotify. You can catch us on 96.3 FM and 1290 AM locally every Saturday, 10 o'clock. And you can also find us on Facebook, and we're everywhere.
I haven't put us on Twitter yet, but I guess that's going to be the next thing. We'll need to start doing some tweets.
We need to start doing some tweets. Twittering away. Until next time, take care of yourselves. We'll see you down the road.